My name is Michael Walliser. This is how to show up on LLMs. I want to start this off with something that happened a week and a half ago. I was at the NAR Legislative Conference, seated at a roundtable, talking about how LLMs are affecting buyers today. And there were multiple agents who had a lead they ended up working with who asked how they found them. And it wasn't Google, it wasn't a referral. They had asked ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever their LLM of choice, who should I talk to about buying a home? And the agent's name came back. The part that stuck with me is the agent, in some cases, had no idea why they had shown up. They just did. And today, you're going to find out why. More importantly, it's how to make that happen on purpose, instead of by accident. Welcome to Webinar 2 of the Mastery class. I'm Michael Walliser, and for the next 55 minutes, we're going to be talking about how to show up on tools your buyers and sellers are already using to research you. This is a quick map of where we're going, and 4 things that you'll lead with. First, a plain English read on how machines actually decide which agents surface. ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI. No jargon, I promise. Second, the 4 factors that move your visibility, and an honest read on where most triangle agents stand on each one today. Third is a checklist you can run this week, specific, executable, and built for the agents with no marketing experience and no ad budget. Fourth, a 30-day plan you can start the same day you leave here, designed to compound over the next 6 to 12 months. One thing before we dive in, everything that I show you today works no matter what platform you're using. The tool that we're presenting on, EasyDigz, simply helps you get there. The strategy doesn't care what tools you use. Our platform just makes it faster, and I'll be honest about that. So let's start with what actually changed. Buyers and sellers across the triangle are already asking ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Google AI to find them an agent. They're not typing best agent in Raleigh into a search box the way that they did 3 years ago. They're asking a direct question, and it's handing back a short list of names. Being on page 2 isn't getting found anymore. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most agents are not on that list. Not because they're bad at being a broker. A lot of them are excellent. It's because they've never built the kind of presence that these systems are designed to surface. Think of it as a shortlist test. When a buyer asks, who should I call to buy a house online, or who should I call to buy a house in Durham? Does your name come up? You still win the deal the old-fashioned way. It's on the phone and in the living room. It's how you help your customers. But your online presence decide whether you make the shortlist in the first place. If you're not named, the buyer never knows that you exist. And in this section, we're going to cover what most people skip. And it's one that actually matters, because once you understand the mechanism, the right actions become more obvious. A large language model is trained on an enormous slice of the internet. During that training, it learns which names and businesses show up in trustworthy context, and which ones never show up at all. Here's your core insight. A base model, such as the free ChatGPT. It doesn't have browsing. It doesn't search the web when you ask it a question. It answers from what it's already learned. So if your name and expertise weren't in reliable sources before its training cutoff for that model, you don't exist in that model. It's not that it ranks you low, it's just that you don't exist. And here are some of the principles to hold on to. Some LLMs surface the agents the web already agrees are credible and relevant. If the web hasn't said much about you, neither will the AI. Everything else today is really about giving the web something to say. Here we're covering how each system finds you, and it's an important exception, and it's good news for you. Some of these tools do search the web. The paid ChatGPT with browsing on, Perplexity, and Google's AI overview, as well as Claude with search on. They pull live results and then use the model to write the answer. The industry term is retrieval augmented generation, RAG, but you don't need the acronym, you need the takeaway. The systems that retrieve live information reward freshness. If you publish a market report this month and a tool like Perplexity or Google AI can surface it within days, the base model that only knows their training data won't see it until the next training cycle, likely months away. When you hear me say publish consistently, that's why it works so fast. You're not waiting on a trading cycle. You're feeding the engine that is reading the web today. And here is an idea that I want you to walk away with the most. I call it the citation layer. AI doesn't just read your website. It weights everything by who's saying it. A mention of you on a local news site, a directory, a community blog, a review platform carries far more weight than anything you say about yourself. The same trust hierarchy that made Google trust sites with inbound links, the models were trained on the web and they inherited it. Rank them by weight. Local press and neighborhood blogs are gold. Hard to earn, hard to fake. Then you have your directory profiles, such as Realtor.com, Zillow, Homes.com, and your Google business profile. Yes, your own blog posts count. Now that we've covered the mechanisms, let's make it actionable. Everything that determines whether you get found comes down to 4 factors. And these aren't theories, they're derived from how the systems are built. Factor 1 is content consistency, a pattern of on-topic publishing over time, not one great article, a rhythm. Every piece is another index point. Factor 2 is topical authority. If you own a specific subject in a place, such as Durham first-time homebuyers from New Jersey or North Hills condos, depth in a niche beats volumes across random topics. Factor 3 is brand clarity. You need to have specific, clear positioning that AI can match to a query, stated the same way everywhere it reads you. Factor 4 is structured information, the technical signals. This is what the AI can actually read, the schema, the titles, the consistent contact info that make your site legible to a crawler in the first place. This is where the automation behind EasyDigz steps in order to take the weight off of your shoulders. To expand your footprint, start with the citation suite because it's the fastest win available to you. The quickest way to expand your footprint is to claim and fully complete every major profile. Each finished profile is one more citation that AI can reference. It might take you 2 focused hours this week. Do your Google business profile first. It is the single highest weight local citation, and it feeds Google AI directly. The most direct line into tools that you currently already use. Then go to Realtor.com, Zillow, Homes.com. Those are in no particular order, but you're all familiar with most of the portals. And then we have LinkedIn. That is your proprietary site. And from there, go to the hyperlocal ones, such as Nextdoor and Yelp. As you go, audit for one thing. And we refer to that as NAP. It's your name, your phone, and your identifiable information. Your brokerage should read identically on every single one, and I'll come back to why that matters. Once your content and footprint is in place, we need to talk about what fuels the value behind it. The objection that I hear every time is, Michael, I don't have time to write 5 posts a week. And you're right, you don't. So don't. The system is to make one input produce many outputs. You're going to pull one neighborhood level market update directly from the MLS. Publish it as a blog post with your name and the neighborhood right in the title. Take the headline stat and make a LinkedIn post out of it. Record a 60-second video of the numbers for your reels or shorts. Then send an email campaign with that information and a link back to the blog straight out to your email list. Include that link back into your business profile so that people know to provide you referrals. And that's 6 citation points from about an hour of work. The blog will be indexed. The LinkedIn post is a citation on a highly authoritative domain. The video is another indexed entity. The Google Business Update reinforces your local signal. In 1 hour, you've got 6 points, and it compounds month after month. And here's where the time problem gets solved. Most agents can't publish hyperlocal data because pulling and formatting it eats the whole day. Easy AI Assist pulls straight from the MLS. It's a neighborhood report in a few clicks. That report, published monthly, is the single strongest topical authority signal an agent in this market can send. Once you've built out your profile and gained an edge in your market, let's anchor your positioning. Brand clarity comes down to 1 sentence, and most agents are getting it wrong. AI matches a query to an entity best when the entity is specific. Vague positioning produces weak matches. Specific positioning produces strong ones. If you look in the weak column, you'll see very easy ones, such as serving the triangle area. We all know the triangle has been expanding very rapidly. Helping buyers and sellers. That is what every single agent, all 1.5 million realtors, help buyers and sellers. That's not a differentiating factor. A general years of experience also doesn't provide any relevant information which it can digest. All agents say these, and the AI can't place you. You blend into tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of other people. In the strong column, the relocation specialist for families moving to Raleigh-Durham from out of state. I would even say if you yourself relocated from another state, say that you have specific information, say that you have exclusive cost of living indexes between the two, and position yourself as that specialist. Your first-time buyer specialist in South Durham and Chapel Hill. 15 years with military families relocating to Fort Liberty. Those are matchable. You'll notice that we include a specific range, that 15 years with military families. That's how it helps you differentiate. And when someone asks the AI a question that fits with that, you are now the answer. If you write one sentence, who you help and where, and repeat it everywhere, word for word, including site headlines, bio, LinkedIn, Google Business, and every directory, repetition across sources is what creates that signal. All right, moving forward, we're going to make it real. First off, I'm going to cover some of that site indexing that I was covering earlier. And most of this is live. I'm also going to be covering how to build out some of those blogs. You guys will see me directly click through from Dorify in live time, so you can see really how long it takes and what you'll be able to produce. And this is being applied to an actual site with actual data. If something doesn't go perfectly, it's fine. You guys will get to see the workflows in real time, and feel free to ask any questions you have from there. Let's make all of this concrete again. This is a live audit of one of our sites. This is my personal site that I have linked to Dorify. It's northraleighestates.com. You'll notice that as soon as a crawler searches it, it says, discover a stress-free home buying experience in Raleigh-Durham. It explicitly lays out that I have experience, what explicit markets I've served, and the site scored an 89, which is a B+. I actually got dinged because I include EasyDigz on this. I also use this site to demonstrate the capabilities of the platform, and you'll notice that they pick that up in how I show up as an agent. I do that explicitly because a good portion of this site is designed to be able to show you guys the platform. And it matters because to an AI, the title is and the name that it's attached to is the page. If you own the site, that title should lead to you, your name, and your brand. It's a small and easy fix. The audit will catch it and you'll be able to see it. The whole point of today is in one screen. If the AI is reading your site now, the question is whether or not what you have on it makes you findable and whether it's leading with your name. I'm going to cover real quick here what that looks like. And we're going to be going into the assist. I'm just going to show you what it looks like to sign into EasyDigz directly from Dorify. You'll notice in one click, it automatically tells me who I am and logs me straight in. You'll be able to see this admin portal pop up. From here, this is what I'm referencing on blogs, and I'll lead you through it. First and foremost, I'm going to click we'll click Zebulon versus Clayton. This is a really good thing for us to, it's an automatic prompt. Pick a neighborhood that you work in and also, be specific about the data that you're doing. And let's just go ahead and say one blog selected. And we'll just generate that blog. I'm going to save it as drafts and I'm going to let it start generating. I'll select. This is a good picture. It's not relevant for the blog, but I'll be sharing this with you guys after the show. It's a picture on stage of the president of the NAR from the legislative meetings. While that's running, I'm going to switch back to here. Sorry. And we're going to cover really what it's going through. And we're currently pulling live MLS data for that area. And we're starting from real current numbers and not a blank page. We'll be generating a draft and a market post grounded in that data in your voice. And 4, you can shape it in line and publish it straight to your site. That post that we're making is backed by original data backed content that I talked about in the first half. It is real, and it's what actually informs the buyer. This is exactly what Google and the AI engines reward. And remember, this single post is one piece. The value comes from doing this and expanding it into multiple touch points every month so that it compounds. We'll go here. You guys can see that this blog generated in real time while I was there. And it starts off, if you've been priced out of the Raleigh, Holly Springs, or even Garner, you're not alone. It talks about the pricing in the areas, the commute math, what it takes to get there, the community feel and walkability, new construction, major factors. All of this is ready for you to review. And again, this has all been trained on local specific data. And I'm just going to really quickly show you what it looks like. I can publish that now. Once this post is published, you'll be able to see here that I have all of the excerpts, the slugs, the title, all of my SEO and meta descriptions are already built in for specific areas targeted explicitly for you. And I'm going to view this live. It's already published live on my site. And I'm going to get a shareable link here. So this is how you would share it on all of your social media. You can click here. It'll log you straight into LinkedIn. I can also preview what that goes like, what that looks like. And I'm just going to copy this link and I'll send it out in the chat afterwards. So that way you guys can read it and get a good idea of what that looks like. From here, let's talk about your homepage. Because it's working for you 24/7, whether you built it to or not. When an AI or a human buyer lands on it, they can tell 3 things in 3 seconds. Who you are, what market you own, and whether you're still active. That's the bar. If you run this checklist on your site tonight, your H1 headline, does it include your name, your role, and a geographic anchor? Your about section, does it include specific factual experience? Or is it a passionate agent committed to service, which signals nothing specific? Does it include your service area specifically, including neighborhoods and zip codes, and your niche, an idea of who your ideal client is? In these 3 seconds, who, where, and are you alive? If a visitor can't answer those, neither can the machine. And we'll cover from there 2 technical quick wins that agents completely miss. Neither one requires you to become a developer. First is your schema markup. It's the code that tells the crawler exactly what a page is. This is a person. Here's their name and area. This is a local business. Here is the address and phone. Here are their reviews. Most agent sites have none at all. Adding them in a basic schema is low effort and makes your site dramatically more readable to AI. This is the same information that you guys saw earlier that I had on my site, North Raleigh Estates. Second, and this costs literally nothing, is your name, address, and phone consistency. If you're Michael Walliser on your site, M. Walliser on Zillow, and Mike on Google, the AI is reading those as 3 different people. You need to have identical name, phone, and brokerage on every profile. This is a foundational trust signal, and it's an hour of cleanup. It's completely free. The good news is on EasyDigz, the structure is handled for you. So the schema isn't a developer project. It's just what is in your site as it ships. And I want to be straight about how all of this works without EasyDigz. I've never wanted this to feel like a bait and switch. Everything I showed you today can work without EasyDigz. The platform's only job is to remove the time and technical cost, because consistency is one of the 4 factors. And time is exactly what kills consistency. Content created, including ready to publish market posts from your MLS data so that your cadence doesn't depend on willpower. Topical authority, including neighborhood level content grounded in real transactions, including brand clarity, and your positioning, your name, and the area are built into every piece. This structured information creates agent sites that will ship with clean, indexable structure with no additional development required. That's the whole pitch. It's not magic. We're just removing the friction that makes most agents quit this in month 2. And here's how you're going to pull this all together. It's a 30-day plan built for success, sequenced so that it compounds. Week 1 is your foundation. Claim and complete a business Google profile. Realtor.com and Zillow and Homes.com are all additional profiles that you want in order to be able to track your name across the portals. Make sure you complete a LinkedIn profile for you personally and be active about it. Make sure that it is relevant so that when people search you, they know who you are and how to find you. Audit all of them for your name, address, and phone consistency. Write your 1 position sentence and update your homepage and bio with it. Week 2, now that you have that set up as your foundation that you can reference all of this across, simply pull market neighborhood report from MLS data, Publish it as a blog post with your name and neighborhood in the title. Once you're done, spin out a LinkedIn post and a 60-second video to go into your Shorts or Instagram. As you have this, you can directly link that back to your Google profile as well. And you'll be able to see this pitch data angle into two additional opportunities. And that's to be able to reach out to local journalists or editors. As you reach out to them, you can use that data, insight, and information as a leverage point to get blog posts or a guest post. Ask your 3 most happy clients to write a Google review for you. And then week 4, audit and systematize. Search your own name in ChatGPT or Perplexity and Google AI, Gemini. Note what surfaces, and that's your baseline. Then set the whole content loop as a recurring monthly task. The goal isn't a spike in visibility. It's starting that compounding loop. The agent who runs this consistently are going to look dramatically different by the end of the first 6 months to a year. And really, this is what you need to do this week. Run the 3-second test on your existing homepage. Claim your Google business profile. And write one specific positioning line and use it everywhere. We are no longer at a point that we can try and generally say, I help buyers and sellers in North Carolina. Zillow already owns that. Realtor.com already owns that. For you to stand out and to own your source of business, you need to present yourself as the expertise in the markets that you truly serve. And that needs to be published and marketed and branded in real data. And you need to be the source of truth on that. So from here, we're going to move into Q&A and I'll open it up. Feel free to bring me any specific questions, anything that you're stuck about, any questions you want me to cover further. If you want me to go back to the platform and do any more in-depth information about what we can source on the Easy Insights tool or how you would get that information published between your blogs or your email campaigns, whatever that might be, I'm happy to answer questions. Let me see if I can get the Q&A up. All right, and I've got the chat up as well. All right, cool. No, that's insightful. Thank you. So the very first question that I got is like, how do you add a schema and what do you do? So if you already have an existing site that you intend to keep using, depending on what that is, you can reach out to a developer to do a one-time schema implementation. It's usually a pretty small project. Before you do that, just make sure that you have your name, address, and phone consistency across all of your profiles. That is the easiest option. Otherwise, I would say that EasyDigz definitely does that schema for you and builds all of it in as a turnkey solution. And again, you don't have to use EasyDigz. Our whole thing is these are steps that you have to take. We've built that into the platform to try and make it easier for you and to reduce that friction there. I saw a hand raise. If you don't mind just dropping that in the Q&A. All right. Okay, cool. And again, if you search yourself on ChatGPT and nothing's come up, especially if you're using the free one, please disregard that. I shouldn't say disregard it. It is built off of the training data that model is trained on. So it is not necessarily representative of what's prevalent in your site today. All of the retrieval augmented generation platforms such as paid Claude, paid ChatGPT, and Perplexity are going to do a better job on actually perusing the web and seeing what's there. All right. Awesome. Anybody else, feel free to raise your hand or drop a question in, and I'm happy to go from there. I'll go ahead and say today what we covered is how agents decide which agent to surface, how they do that, whether it's in training or retrieval, and also the citation layer, which is why it matters that you can, put that content out on your site that you can keep referring back to through all of your other profiles. The consistency factor, the topical authority. Excellent. Yeah, I see your question to come across. I'll get right to it. And then your brain clarity and structure. And then really kind of that deeper layer of what does the AI actually see on your site, and how we can change that. So I would the question is how do you use this as a differentiating factor between agents who have a bunch more experience, and kind of does this help you get across that finish line? And I'll say this first and foremost, as we've seen in industry reporting, we saw the first ever decline in searches happen on Zillow. And we've seen an increase, an exponential, like 400x increase this year in searches for agents that are happening on LLMs. So if you're worried about competing with maybe more experienced agents or other agents and how this helps differentiate you, if they are not showing up as a possible option for those people who are using LLMs in their search, then you don't have to worry about it because they're not part of the conversation. Secondly, if you look at a lot of the industry information as far as what buyers and sellers want, they highly value like technology use and capabilities within their agents, because that's where most of our that's where most of our commerce is going, right? The vast majority of what we buy and sell happens online today. And so by having someone who understands how that ecosystem works, it builds trust that they will also be able to that you will also be able to market their home and handle that efficiently. So I would say the first differentiator there is not necessarily how long that person's been in the field, but how well are they taking care of their fiduciary duty to their clients to make sure that their homes and their properties are being presented in the best light. And by showing that you have the systems in place in order to regularly track that, we can cover a few other things that are in the EasyDigz platform, from the time that your client onboards to the regular touch points and the transaction management, that really it has been a leverage for demonstrating your capability and your diligence to making sure that they're being served. So not specifically just the AI visibility, we're seeing that differentiate who gets to get to the conversation. And then once we are having conversations with clients, that's where the remainder of how your platform is structured and the amount of diligence that you've put into it really starts to make that differentiator. That's an excellent question. I'm open for any others. We're running about 15 minutes ahead of where we should be. I know I kind of buzzed through it, but happy to answer anything else. We will have a recording of this whole webinar published to our YouTube. You guys will get links with that. And I'll just actually, let me see if I can. I'm just going to share this. So that way you guys can get an idea on that blog that I just quickly published. And tell me, I'm open to any feedback as you guys read through that. Feel free to email me, reach out, and any questions you have about it. Okay, cool. Sorry, I just saw that pop up. Absolutely. So your personal social media should absolutely include your information that you practice and your brokerage affiliation, all of that. If you are going to be using it for business, you still have to be clear. Like if your personal page has nothing to do with your real estate practice, it's up to you and your brokerage and the people that you work with to determine, what you can and cannot have on that. If you're using it for business at all, you need to be clear about that identity, that it matches straight through, because that's going to help build your presence. And it builds the amount of information that an LLM has the ability to search on. And if it notices, I don't have specific reporting on this, but we have seen some anecdotal evidence that, like, if you do post a lot about hiking and backcountry stuff, for example, that if that's linked directly through into your business information, there may be some matching and tie-in there. I don't have any firm evidence on that, but I have seen several anecdotes about that being the case. So I would say that would be first and foremost is if you are using your personal pages at all for business, it needs to carry all of your correct relevant information. And there's display standards that you should abide by as far as what brokerage are you with, how do you represent people, etc. But that's a great question as well. I appreciate that. Awesome. And if you have any questions, again, I see you arrived late. I'm happy to cover all of this. Feel free to reach out to me. It's michael@easydigz.com. And additionally, the follow-up of this will be on our YouTube as well. So happy to clarify any information from there. Absolutely. Cool. Well, if that's what we've got, I appreciate you all joining me today. I know it's an abbreviated holiday week. And yeah, for all of those who are interested, I'll be reaching out to you as well, and we'll be able to go from there. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great afternoon.